Hello, beautiful people. I'm tuning in from Spain, and I actually have a little cold. Uh-oh. No, I'm just kidding. I've been doing so much healing work around this virus and all this. And yeah, I felt like tuning in to talk about. This video is for everyone, but I'm gonna be addressing women a little more because this is a pattern that I see much more in women than I see in men because of the way we have been raised and thought to be. So, and it's the topic of self validation and giving your power away, but in the sense of not trusting yourself. Because as women, as little girls, really, as little girls, we were taught by society, by our parents, and they did mean like they meant well. They didn't know any better. But what they taught us wasn't really serving us. It wasn't really helpful, and we were taught to not trust ourselves, to look for outside validation, to not trust our feelings. Our feelings were ridiculed, laughed at. Our sensitivity was often like seen as something weak and stupid. So we were taught that everything we are is wrong and we can't trust ourselves, so we should look for the outside, to the outside, to get answers and to get validations, like get validation for what we're feeling. So we can often, like as grown women, we can have this pattern, like this wounded little girl inside that still feels like she needs to have permission, like she needs someone else to validate what she is feeling in order for it to be okay. And I am here to tell you today that that's bullshit, of course, because you're powerful and amazing and all of that. And I'm gonna sit down here. You don't need anyone to validate you. You don't need anyone to tell you that it's okay to feel something in order for you to feel it, you know? You are going to be giving your power away all the time if you're going to look for outside validation. And I have noticed that, like, especially when we are around other women as women, we can feel most intimidated then. The little girl feels most intimidated when she's around other women because we have such a like wound between women, like a sisterhood wound, and we've kind of like, I don't know how to express that, but we kind of hold these lies together within our friendships by not speaking our truth, by trying to please each other, by trying to not be bigger, like by trying to not shine brighter. We pull each other down because we are afraid that if I shine bright, then my sister will be jealous and she won't like me and I will be rejected. So I need to dim my light so that I have my sister, and then she dims her light. So you're not doing each other favors by dimming your light to stay in a relationship that's very toxic. And it's often these relationships that women have with each other because we don't know any other way, you know? We don't know how to be in our power and not feel threatened or not feel like we will be abandoned. So that's like really big wounds. That's really big stuff. And healing that starts with validating yourself, like being able to trust yourself. And it's not like an overnight thing that you're just like, oh, I'm gonna just validate myself, I'm cool. It's gonna be a journey and it's going to take time because we've been so used to not validating ourselves, seeking outside validation, seeking, like, trying to dim ourselves to not be a threat for someone. And it will take time to learn and navigate in a new way of being. And you might also lose people around you when you start doing that, because there can be people that feel so threatened by you being you and by you allowing yourself to shine bright, that they will just not be able to stand with you. And those who will be amazing, because those are the people that are able and willing to shine with you and not make themselves smaller to be with you. So, as I said, first step, validating yourself. You don't need anyone else to validate you, you know? And we can feel like, yeah, but that's so tricky. Like, I need to validate myself, but I also need to be able to take in what other people say, and those two don't have to cancel each other out. Like, you can take in what people say, and you can be open to, like, a dialogue and people telling you something that you might overlook because it's in your shadow. But it doesn't mean, like, we often go to these extremes. So we can stay in the middle. We can be like, okay, I can validate myself. I don't need anyone else to give me permission to feel what I am feeling, and all of what I'm feeling is right and true. And I don't have to cancel what other people are saying either. And it's also this, like, so if I'm feeling something, then it must be true. Like, if I'm validating something, then it means that it's true. But no, like, all of your feelings are valid, all of your feelings are wonderful and beautiful, but that doesn't make them true. If you feel unworthy, that doesn't make you unworthy. If you feel afraid, that doesn't mean that you might die in the next, like, minute or something. If you feel insecure, that doesn't mean that you're like shit, you know? That, like, your feelings are all valid in the sense that they want to be felt and heard and held. They want to be what they are. But that doesn't mean that you have to act on them or believe them, like be them, you know what I mean? It's a difference there. So you don't have to take in everything everybody says, but you can also take in what people say that really makes sense to you, even if it's uncomfortable, you know? And you can validate your feelings without becoming your feelings, because when you, like, actually, when you do start validating yourself, you can see how your feelings actually aren't you in that sense. You become the observer. And I feel like often I've seen this in myself, like, often we fear that if we validate something, we make it true. And that is not the case. So we stop ourselves from validating ourselves and giving ourselves permission to feel and be, because we are afraid that that will become us. But by doing it, we actually free ourselves. We give space to these feelings and emotions without becoming them. And this is so important for us women, like in our relationships, to be able to validate ourselves, to give ourselves permission to feel what we are feeling, so we don't have this codependent and meshed as, like, relationships, you know. We need to be able to be there for ourselves and have power within ourselves, so we don't feel like we need to take from our sister or put our sister down so that we feel powerful, because that's not power. That's an illusion of power. and it won't last you long. I like, trust me, believe me, I've done that many times, trying to put someone down or bring someone above me, and it will never ever work. You will never ever feel powerful in the long run. You need to be there for yourself and have a relationship with yourself and be there for your little wounded girl and hear her out. Like, she has a lot of good stuff to tell you, but you need to be present with her. So, a really big step to healing sister wounds and healing your inner child and healing so many layers is validating yourself, giving yourself permission to be with what is and accept it. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it makes no sense, even if it's weird, even if you judge it, accept where you are. Give yourself permission to be where you are, especially with those things that feels most uncomfortable, because they are the ones that need your attention and love most. And they are uncomfortable because you have so many beliefs around them and you haven't been there for them for such a long time, so they have become like this outcast shadow that is just hiding and fearing, and it makes you very uncomfortable to look at. Validate yourself, give yourself permission, and in doing that, you will heal so much. Like, your relationship with yourself and with women, because, like, as a woman, when you have a good relationship to yourself, you can then meet women in an empowered and true way, like genuine, authentic, without seeking something from them, because you feel whole and full in yourself, so you don't need anyone else to tell you that you are good, because you know it, and you don't need anyone to tell you that you can cry or be angry, because you know it. And that doesn't mean that we aren't supposed to seek help from each other and support from each other. Sometimes we do need someone to be like, it's okay to feel this way, it's okay to be like this, because we have such a hard time doing it for ourselves. But if we only rely on that and we never validate ourselves and we never give ourselves permission to be with what we feel, we are in a very disempowered place all the time. And we attract people in the same state. So it becomes this crazy thing going on. So this is for everyone. It's not just for women, but I'm addressing this from a female viewpoint as a woman, because it's been like a very big thing in my life, feeling very intimidated by women. And I'm also quite young, and almost like I'm always in positions where I am teaching or meeting elder women, and that can be very intimidating, and it's also so very healing, because it shows me those places within me where I feel like I'm just a little girl that has nothing to say and I'm just silly, and it shows me that insecurity and that wounded little girl. And it's okay for her to be there, it's okay for her to be felt and like heard, but she is not leading my life, she is not making decisions and taking all the shots for my life. So yeah, that was a little bit of what I felt coming through. And yeah, I just need to say that tapping is just amazing. This, like, I've tapped for 2 years or so, but like tapping regularly, like every day, having it like it's non-negotiable, I do it every day. It's beautiful and wonderful, and it opens up so much. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you get some empowerment from this and that you can see yourself more clearly or feel any patterns that you might carry. and tend to your wounded girl, because she really needs you, and she has so much to give and so much to offer, and there's so much power that comes from just being in a state of validation to yourself and permission to be with what is. So thank you so much, and